This is Merchandise Mart. Transfer to Brown Line trains at Merchandise Mart. Doors closing.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody. Happy Friday.
Yes.
Thank you for having us.
Mm-hmm. So welcome to the Wisendale Weekly Wrap-Up, where we talk about architecture, design, everything in between. Have two special guests with me this week. Go ahead, you ladies can introduce yourself.
My name is Mary Kathryn Scala, and I am co-founder of Freight to Plate, and people call me the Gatherer.
And I'm Jacqueline Scala, co-founder of Freight to Plate. I am the hunter.
Nice.
Yes.
The hunter and the gatherer.
Yeah.
I like that.
Very hard to not insert a rawr.
Right. Right.
I wanted to shovel something for some reason in that moment, but I decided not to.
So let's first start like all the way back. How did you guys get to where you're at, and who are you guys? Can you guys start there? Quick. It doesn't have to be long.
So Jacqueline and I are sisters,
Okay.
so we can go that far back if you want.
Right. You're like, damn, how far back?
Really
right,
far
right.
back.
No, professional wise.
Okay. So my background is in hospitality, specifically hospitality startup.
Okay.
I went to Kendall College, which is a culinary institute here in Chicago. My path has not been linear at all. I've done a lot of stuff, but most recently, I have really focused on the startup world. So I've worked in a food delivery service startup in Austin, Texas,
Nice.
and then also a small distillery startup out of Austin, Texas as well, which is what brought me back here to Chicago. I opened up their Midwest market. So with that, I learned a lot about opening new markets, bringing new products and services into a place that hadn't seen it. So
Very
that's
cool.
kind of what I bring to the table here for Freight to Plate is
Nice.
really bringing new things, getting the community to understand and know what we are all about. And that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Cool. And
Yeah.
the hunter?
That sounds so much worse than it is. But my background is...
I feel like I'm a hunter more than a gatherer.
Yes.
No, I think I'm
So
both. I'm a little both.
It really
but-
does define how we work in
As
like
a
our
team.
Freight to Plate business style right now. It really makes sense, which I'm sure we'll
Oh.
unfold that a little bit more during this podcast. But my background is, which it's so great to be back in the merchandise mart because I haven't been here in a while. Not just COVID, but in general, my career started in corporate interior design. I went to school at Columbia College for interior architecture. I love designing. I miss it. I miss it every day. But I also really like to hustle and bustle, and that's what construction brought me. So after interior design, I kind of pivoted into project management. So I was managing projects I worked at JLL for a couple of years, managing architecture design through construction. So
Very
it's
cool.
just the whole gambit.
Nice.
And then I've now focused primarily on general contracting, construction world.
Very cool.
And what I love about that is being a part. I love seeing stuff built up, and then the whole sales process of it. So meeting all the brokers, the architects, everyone that has any key stakeholder in a construction project is where I kind of fit myself in. So for Freight to Plate, we are bringing a farm to the city. So
Yeah.
there's not a farm existing here, we're bringing it. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm hunting out, like how do we get it here, and then securing those logistics of getting the utilities here. Where's the permitting? Where's the zoning? I
Yeah.
kind of help make that happen.
Very cool. So it's obviously been mentioned a few times. So what is Freight to Plate? Where do you guys want to start with that?
Long story short, Freight to Plate is an urban agriculture company. Back in April, Jacqueline and I went to visit a community garden in the west side of Chicago. that garden brought so much pride and joy to the people, especially like through this pandemic. Giving them a fresh place to get food was like, we saw it, and we wanted to figure out a way to extend that. Like, how do we bring fresh food to communities that don't have it? And not just for a grow season, but 365 days a year. How do we extend this is kind of like what we were trying to answer. We came across Freight Farm technology, and it seemed like a really good solution for that place. But then the more we thought about it and became incredibly obsessed with it, we've really figured that it's more of a long-term way to build really strong, thriving communities. And that's kind of where it started. And
you said last April? Or would you say?
Yeah, April
2020.
2020.
Nice.
So this is a pandemic baby.
There you go. There you go.
It's one of those things. I think Jacqueline and I, for a very long time, knew that we were going to work together in some fashion.
Sure.
There's stories upon stories about how we figured that out, but this just kind of came at the right time, and the idea was right, and then the timing was right, and then all the people that we've met have all been right, even like meeting you, and coming back together. I know you guys have known each other before, but coming back together for this, it's all been right, and I think it's a really powerful thing to just be in the wave of right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, Wisendale is 1 year in April officially too. So
Heck
April
yes.
is awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. Real quick, can we comment on the red? So for those of you listening on the podcast, and check us out on
We look so
YouTube,
cute.
but we all have red on. I was told to rock red today, which is
Well, it's National Wear Red Day.
So hopefully you guys are wearing red too.
Yes, and it is to signify and celebrate and bring awareness to, I think it's mostly in women, but it's about bringing awareness to cardiovascular disease and heart disease.
Gotcha.
Which is important to this conversation because our company is about bringing leafy greens and a healthy diet to people, and leafy greens and cruciferous greens will help you. It cleans the arteries. That's what Brian told me. It cleans the arteries. It improves your heart health. And
Brian who?
Brian Buckley. That Brian.
Well, shout out to Brian Buckley
Thank you,
with
Brian.
Buckley Redner for hosting us today, as well as Boss Design in the showroom. And be sure to check out at the end of this podcast where he talks about the products that we're sitting in, if you have time. So
I like this chair.
yeah, so let's dive in then, fully deep. So how big are the crates? How big are the
Right.
containers?
I feel like, did Mary introduce like where Freight to Plate came from, but like what is Freight to Plate?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Freight to Plate. So our mission is bringing hyper-local produce 365 days a year to Chicago, and how we do that is we are bringing hydroponic farming technology to Chicago that is retrofitted into a standard shipping container. So we're talking a small footprint, 500 square feet. I mean, a standard shipping container is 8 feet by 40 feet, 9.5 feet tall, but super high yield.
Sorry, not to cut you off. There are other sizes of shipping containers, though, correct?
I believe so. I mean, yes, and there's like pony containers. I keep calling them pony containers. I don't know if that's what you call them, but they're like little guys.
Yeah.
And they have longer ones too.
Yeah.
But the standard freight container is 40 feet by 8 feet, 9.5 feet tall.
Okay.
But this is, in one little container, we're producing enough produce that you would see on like a 5-acre farm. So that's not possible here in Chicago. You're not going to find 5 acres of land and grow, and you're certainly not going to do it year round. So Mary and I will be pumping out about 200 pounds of produce a week,
Wow.
and that's the goal.
Same produce? Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, that's the great thing about this farm technology. Starting out, we are going to focus very much on those leafy greens, and we're going to have a set harvest menu, TBD on that, but we will have a set harvest menu. But the technology is so advanced and so smart that we'll be able to literally grow pretty much anything that you can dream up.
And
it
you
just
can grow-
depends on the yields that you want to see from this farm. So if you don't care about yields, then we can just grow strawberries for you. You know, if like
Gotcha.
that's what you want to do. But if you're really looking to make an impact in a community, we're going to stick with the really nutrient dense leafy greens and lettuces, small root vegetables, and herbs is where we're kind
And
of
what's
aiming.
the time frame on that? I know it may vary depending on what you're growing, but what is
From seed to harvest, it's roughly around 6 weeks. But then you are harvesting every week. But that's from like the seed to harvest.
I
It's
think
6
I
weeks.
read that it was 15 to 20 hours a week
Yeah,
for
well,
maintenance, or what is that?
so that's like your labor
With
within
labor.
the farm.
Gotcha.
Everything is controlled through this technology, which, you know, we will have the app on our phone. So we'll be able to control the nutrient level, the lights, how long we want the lights on, how long we want them off for, the CO2 levels. We will be able to completely control the environment, which makes it possible to grow really fast or shorten the harvest or however we want to dictate it. Like, we're going to play God a little bit. But we promise to do it for good because we want to feed as many people as possible.
Yeah.
Right. The app allows you to optimize the environment that you're growing. So we could also be growing 6 different species of lettuce at the same time. We can have basil in the back, kale, romaine, it doesn't matter. We can grow it all at the same time. And the app will adjust what the threshold is for what the lighting needs to be or the pH level in the water, and it'll all balance out to what we need it to be. So that 15 to 20 hours a week that you mentioned is really Mary and I physically planting some seeds when they germinate to the right levels, transplanting it into the vertical gardens, and then really keep the doors shut. Let it grow
let it do
and
its thing.
bake. There's speakers in there, so we'll play it some music. I would love to test that out, like what kind of music grows the plants better. Is that a thing?
Yeah.
So you guys are hands-on then. So whoever purchases the container, are they hands-on as well, or how does that work? Because are you guys saying that you guys plant the seeds, or how does it all, like? Let's say I buy a container. What happens then?
Right. So for our container, we have our first farm coming in April.
Nice.
And
Congrats.
Mary and I will be the ones physically taking care of that farm. We have a couple partners that are also going to be purchasing farms, like you said.
Yeah.
And really what Freight to Plate does is we help you procure the farm, source it, get it here, set it up, and then we do help you develop the grow schedules. We will physically do the work, or depending on what involvement we will train your staff or train your community if that is the way it just depends on which level of service you want.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, and you said there's speakers in there and everything, plumbing, and what else? What else is all hooked up to it? Electricity, I'm assuming.
Electricity is a pretty big one because it is LED light source in there, and then the HVAC system, of course, because those lights are putting off a lot of heat. Your plants themselves are releasing a lot of humidity.
Yeah.
So you need a pretty robust HVAC system. What else is there? A lot of water, but the water
Yeah, right. I would
system-
assume water, right?
Water is super efficient.
Yeah, it's very efficient. So there is a 110-gallon tank that feeds your vertical gardens, and then there's a 30-gallon tank that feeds your seeding trough. And that's all the water that you're using, and you fill up every 6 to 8 weeks. And then
Very cool.
it uses 95% of that water.
Nice.
So it is incredibly efficient. And then the water that you do expel from it is just hyper nutrient rich water. It kind of tiptoes around gray water, but all of our partners have been using that excess water on their
What's gray water? Sorry for those who don't know.
gray water.
Gray water, like, it comes from your house, like water that you've showered with, or like
Gotcha.
any water that comes off of cleaning something.
Yes.
Okay.
Fortunately for us, the water, that's why we can't call it gray water, because there's nothing contaminated. We don't use
Right.
pesticides. We don't use
Exactly.
chemicals.
Gotcha.
So it's
That's
not
why it tiptoes the line.
right,
Because it just has a lot of nutrients in it. It's just
hypernutrient.
Hypernutrient.
Yeah.
So
Very cool.
we'll be able to use it on like our garden beds or our Homestead location has really beautiful trees and foliage, so we'll probably just use it to water those things.
So you said the Homestead would be in April you're aiming for?
The second week of April. I mean,
That's a definitive comment. Second week of April.
Well, we don't have an opening date,
right?
But
Okay.
our farm will be here, and our site will be ready at that point, the
Yeah.
second week of April.
So does the site have to be residential or commercial, or can you guys go into that a little bit more, what the zoning has to be?
Sure. So,
Because I'm
afraid to
imagining, like, where would you plop this down,
So that's a fully loaded question because a free-to-plate farm can go anywhere, realistically, and that's what we're trying to show with our homestead, which I'll describe where that is in a second. But we could put them under Wacker Drive, in a parking lot, in a vacant lot, maybe a brownfield development, which is exactly why we want to bring these to Chicago, because let's make use of the land that we're not using. Let's use the farm as a placemaking tool to actually activate the area. Our farm is going into a vacant lot that has no electricity, so we had to pull utility there, which is complete at this point. And water can be manually brought in, so you really can put it anywhere. Because of yes, you have to fill up the tank, but once you fill up the tank, the water is being recycled and reused.
Gotcha. Interesting. And in the app, like, how does it communicate with an app?
On our phone. Literally, it's the software and the data that's driving it is a network of farms all over the world. There's about 500 farms globally right now. I think about 400 of them are in the United States, and so Mary and I in preparation for our farm to get here, we talk to our partners all the time. We want to understand what they're seeing and how the app has helped them. I mean, and the app does tell you exactly what's the best way to grow this kale at this temperature with this water level, pH level, and nutrient level. So it's amazing technology. It really is.
I mean, I'm assuming that the modular construction has also been kind of talked about with you guys. Like, how does that fit into that sort of building structure? Have you guys explored that at all?
You mean including these as into a development?
Yeah, like into like a modular building or modular construction. Because modular construction has always been a thing, right? And people are trying to really break through with that. So I think that this really fits right in to not only feed the people who may live in the modular construction, but also the surrounding neighborhoods or the community, excuse me.
And that is one of our angles, is we really want to partner with developers that are building communities in that way. The footprint is perfect. It fits in anywhere, and it fits, and it makes sense visually too to see it. But what is a challenge is that our farm is prefabbed, and it needs to be prefabbed for the technology to work. But understandably so, every city, every municipality has a requirement on how is this built? Can we see it? We need to make sure it's safe.
Sure.
So that's part of what Freight to Plate does too, is we work with your municipality to make sure it's a safe solution, and how we integrate it into different modular communities. I mean, that's exactly the best way to make it work, is to do that. And so we can't wait to do that.
Right.
Yeah. And congrats on the WBE. So you guys got that recently.
Thank you.
So can you talk a little bit about that process? Yeah, I'm going to cheers you guys from back here too.
Okay.
Great job.
You can stretch.
Big reach. Salute.
What was that process like? How was that? How did that come about?
Well, I think when we started talking to people about what we were doing, one of the first questions they asked was, are you a WBE?
Yeah.
When are you getting your WBE? And I think at first we're like, I don't know. I mean, we got a lot to do, so whenever we can get to it. But the more we looked into it, it's just such an incredible community to be a part of.
Yeah.
And I guess it's easier at the very beginning of your business to do it.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of paperwork, and we just...
So that's a national...
It's a
so
national
it's not the
accreditation.
WBE. Is it the WBE with the city, or is it the national recognition?
It's a national recognition.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, we're incredibly proud to be a part of it, and I think it was really just a lot of paperwork and talking to the right people to make it happen.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. And I know that a lot of developments that, as we mentioned earlier, want to work with WBEs or MBEs too. So.
Well, that's the best part of, or that was one of the things that drove us to get it done. Mary put a lot of work into that part. Let's be honest. I think I started it. I was like, can you please help finish this?
Yeah.
But there are so many developers that we want to work with, and realistically, a lot of, especially a big initiative in Chicago is the Invest Southwest, and you need to have you should be including minority and women-owned businesses, and you also need to have a community engagement factor, that's exactly what we are. We're a woman-owned business, and our product and our service provides a big drive to get the community involved, and we're feeding the community, but you can also come and work at the farm or learn how to operate the farm yourself. So it's a great way to add something great to your community.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it really adds an element to keep people where they are too. I think, with my background in hospitality and food, it is the thing that makes a community thrive, at least in my mind. I mean, we can say a bunch of things, but like food is so important. And coming from a very Italian family where, all of our gatherings, are around food, are around the kitchen. It's a very important piece. And bringing something that is so close to the source to a community, I just know it's going to be like the heartbeat of that community.
Yeah, for sure.
Knowing that their food is being grown right there, it's like the highest currency.
Yeah. Is there anything currently in Chicago that's like that? Are you guys going to be the first?
There are hydroponic farms in Chicago, yes, but
Gotcha.
And there are a lot of cool people doing great things in urban agriculture. I mean, Chicago is such a cool city. There's always a bunch of things going on, but say it, get it out.
And I mean, community gardens are everywhere, and that's a big one of our marketing strategies is community garden 2.0, because this is your community garden, but it's year round. It's just a different way of doing it. And people love their community gardens, and I know it does bring the community together, and it offers fresh produce, which is, that's wear your red shirts, because those leafy greens are going to save your arteries.
What about, is there a price range? Can I ask you guys about a price range? Does it depend on what you want to grow, or how does that work?
Oh, you mean for the actual produce?
Yeah, in general, like for the container. Like, is it...
Oh, the container.
Or I don't know, is that a separate cost than what you want to grow?
No, the container is a set price, and then, how we are working freight to play is there's a startup cost for the year.
Oh, gotcha.
And then
Okay.
however involved you want our services moving forward, there's obviously like a price range for keeping freight to play.
So this is a continued service that you guys are providing.
Yes.
It's not just, hey, Felix, go spend the money, you get it, and then you guys dip out. You guys are involved.
Absolutely.
We want, yes, we
Okay.
are in it. Like, I think, there's a bunch that Jacqueline and I want to do, but like the idea is really being integrated into where these farms are being placed. We are not looking to drop and run. We're looking to really help with programming, with feeding people, with training the right people, with, everything that it's going to take to make these things successful. We are there.
Understood. Sorry. I was thinking for some reason that it was like a purchase and purchase, drop and go, like a grab and go, pretty much.
It's a big purchase, and it's, financially, it's a big purchase, and and it also, as much as the technology, we say, it runs itself, and it does for the most part. Like we can teach anyone to operate it, but freight to plate, we want to make sure that your community is ready for it. That's why a big part of what we're doing too is partnering with different nonprofit groups, because we want the nonprofits are already in communities that they know need them, and they know the community well, so they can work with them, and they can make sure that everyone's on board and gonna welcome the idea and not be like, how do I use this?
Yeah.
Like, we want everyone. we wouldn't be in business if we couldn't help people do it. Because if you're just dropping it, I think the container might sit there and nothing will happen.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, that's why that's why I don't know where I got that notion that it was like a drop and go, like it was a product.
And what's great, I mean, the monthly cost to operate a farm, like the actual monthly cost is probably around $300 a month, and that's just to buy your seeds, your utility costs, and then maybe cleaning it. It's really a minimal cost that you're incurring, but the operation of it, the programming, how do you distribute all that
distribution is a big piece,
Absolutely.
Because you're going to have a lot of food to distribute. And there's different ways you can go about distributing that food, and that's kind of where, like, as the gatherer, I'm going to help each farm community figure out what's the best, like, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish here?
Right.
Are you just, is this farm going to be a part of your homeowners association?
Sure.
Like, are we...
Like, what's the strategy behind it?
Yeah, there's a strategy behind everything.
Yeah.
Are we partnering with a local restaurant group to be able to grow the produce for the restaurants, for their menu? Are we doing a combo of restaurant sales and actually feeding the community? Like, there's a bunch of different ways to go about it. It's just really going to depend on where this farm is being dropped.
Yeah, definitely. So have you guys thought about your programming already for what you guys are doing for the second week of April?
Yeah, we have brought on a really amazing restaurant group, the 50/50 food group. So they're going to be our restaurant partner. They have, a million restaurants now. I mean, million.
Yeah.
A million and counting. But they're our restaurant partner. But also, did we talk about where our farm is being located?
No, that wasn't mentioned. I didn't know if you guys wanted.
But we can talk about it.
I didn't know if you guys wanted
It's just
to mention
funny. The funny thing about where we're putting our farm, we don't actually have an address. We can't give you an address, but we can tell you exactly where it is. And that's because it literally was a vacant lot that never had an address. So we've had to establish one. It takes a little time to get that through the Department of Transportation, but we're almost there.
Yeah, we're close.
The address takes time to get to?
Yeah, to actually get an address. Because our farm's going to be at Carol and Racine in Fulton Market.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, we're very excited to be part of the Fulton Market area.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's going to be
almost as exciting as being a WBE, but I don't know, being part of the Fulton Market area of Chicago, it's like, to me, it feels like the startup hub of Chicago.
Yeah.
And I spent years in Austin, Texas, which is such a startup, and there's so much energy there of new ideas and building, and Chicago is historic and there's so much history here, and I feel like Fulton Market is this heartbeat of new and hustle and bustle.
Yeah.
So it's amazing to be right there. And we're super
And that's
excited.
what we wanted for the homestead, was we wanted it to be in an area that was accessible for everyone, because we have, like we said, a lot of partners that need to see it.
Sure.
So we want them to come and understand that we can put them anywhere in the middle of because realistically, if you've been to the corner of Racine and Carroll, it's very industrial.
Racine and Carroll.
So it's just south of the metro tracks, literally a block off, and there's not much over there. It's not developed yet. It's going to be.
Right.
I'm trying to think
what a good landmark.
Is that north of Lake?
Yes.
Or what else is around there?
The train tracks.
The metro tracks.
The metro tracks?
The metro tracks. But literally that corner, there's nothing there.
There's just a bunch of parking lots and vacant warehouses.
Old warehouses.
Very cool.
Yeah, we're incredibly excited to activate that area.
So how many containers will you have on that? It's just one?
We will just have our one homestead farm.
Okay. Gotcha.
It's such a sweet little place because our little corner is all like we said, it's all industrial and manufacturing, but for some reason we found this little pocket of green. It's all grass. How many trees and bushes do we have? We've got about 4 trees and then a whole row of bushes. It's going to be adorable.
It's
Very
super
cool.
special. I was driving around just kind of literally like a creepy lady just driving around looking at any empty spot, and I drove past Racine and Carol. I think I called you or texted you right away and was like, I think I found it, but I just I couldn't believe that could be it. And so it's so funny. We actually signed our lease today because it took a while to sign it, but
Congrats.
we signed it today. Yeah.
So you're leasing the land?
We are leasing the land.
Okay.
Another
From our
thing.
wonderful landlord, Sterling Bay.
Okay.
They've
Love
been
'em.
so awesome to work with.
Very cool.
But yeah, when she called me. She's like, I think I found it, and we had looked at a couple spots, and I immediately Hunter was like, I'm gonna figure out what
Sure.
deal is with this piece of land, and I found it, and it took a while because
It's a weird piece of land.
Yeah, whenever anyone comes, when you come in April, when
Yeah.
you come see what it is and like how it's connected to the rest of the community, it's a weird little spot. So
Nice. So do you guys know what produce you're going to grow already? Or?
we have the first harvest. Yeah. Definitely kale because that's
Okay.
what I want.
I mean, do you want to?
What was we have a harvest menu for the
I
first.
know, but we haven't bought the seed, so
Yeah, you guys don't have to. You guys don't have to push it out now. I was just curious.
Actually, that's on our a startup business and just running our own business for the first time. I mean, we work every day. I would say I'm full-time employed doing something else right now. So Mary is full-time freight to plate. So when I'm not working, so after hours, we typically are working in the evenings late, and which is hard these days because COVID days, it's like 10 o'clock is late to be up. But sometimes we're working till 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah. I hear you.
And then on the weekends, of course, we take advantage of the weekends. And so this weekend, one of the big things we have to do is
Purchase
buy
our seeds.
Very cool. And I guess I should ask: Can marijuana be grown in this? What's going on with the Mary Jane?
Funny you
Hello.
I know
We're working on that.
we are working on that.
Okay. How is that? Does that depend on the legalities of the states or?
It is a crazy hard thing to get your craft growing license.
Yeah.
I mean, because obviously those licenses get bought up like that. And
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, that's very political to
Yeah.
say that, but we are working on it, and we
Gotcha.
are very close. So that is another TBD. You'll have to have us back on to
Yeah,
talk about
hell yeah,
the
hell yeah.
cannabis growing.
Yeah.
Right, because I would love to grow cannabis. I don't know exactly what we would do with it though, because
Smoke it.
it's not
Smoke it.
Yeah. Well, that's why I want to grow it. 'Cause I want to smoke it, and I want to get all my friends high too.
Right. Yeah.
But
And
I don't know what we do with it. You know what I mean? Like
I'm
Sure.
having plenty ideas of what we're gonna do with it. Don't
Yeah.
worry, we'll talk about that.
It's different licensing though.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So just tell us about 2021. What do you guys feel? So when we do have you back on in
Sure.
in 2022 in February, what will we be hearing? Hopefully.
Well, first things first is establishing our homestead. We keep talking about our homestead. It's, homestead is where our heart is going to be. So really getting that established, and our first harvest will hopefully hit the market, the streets in June.
June. To be conservative.
Yeah.
June.
And then from there, establishing the projects we are working on with our developer partners. And then third would be working with nonprofits and other foundations to secure at least 3 farms. I think that was something that we talked about. At least 3 farms for in-need and at-risk communities.
Gotcha.
And once our homestead is here and we've got it established, we are going to be working really diligently with people to help secure the funds to be able to gift the farms to people that really need it.
Yeah,
So.
for sure.
Yeah, because that's the biggest goal, and where Freight to Plate started was, how do we get these in every community? I would love to see one in every single neighborhood, and because it's a cool shape and size. We could have a local artist paint the outside, which ours will be. We have a really awesome artist ready to do our farm. But
Nice.
we want every neighborhood to have their own personalized style to it. They can grow whatever they want that interests that that community.
Yeah, that demographic.
Yeah,
cool.
so that's one of my big goals is to try and get one in every neighborhood. That's not going to happen in 21, but maybe in the next 5 years. That's my 5-year goal.
Definitely. So thank you, and look forward to seeing what you guys do for the rest of the year. And where can people follow you? Where can people catch up with you or reach out to you?
Sure. You can check out our website at ftp.farm, which is a very weird URL, but it's very easy to type in.
It's unique.
ftp.farm, F-A-R-M. And then our handle for both Facebook and Instagram is at freight2plate. Should I spell it?
Is it T-O or is it the number 2?
T-O.
Okay.
Yeah, freight to TO plate. And then our emails are a little bit funny because, our big idea for, Jacqueline and I is really to be innovators in building strong, thriving communities. And we learned a lot about thriving communities through our family. So, our bigger name between the two of us is House of Scala. Scala is our last name. House of Scala is kind of like the umbrella of all the things that we will do moving forward to create thriving communities. So you can email me at maryk@houseofscala.com, and you can reach Jacqueline through email at
Jacqueline@houseofscala.com. Jacqueline spelled the longest way possible.
You want to spell it?
Jacqueline.
So if you guys ever get married, would you guys change your name?
Hell no.
No.
No?
No.
Okay. Good to know.
I've already had that conversation.
I would drop the middle name, and I would always keep Scala at some point. I think professionally, I would always keep Scala because I don't know why, whether it'd be like my stage name, I guess. you
Sure.
know?
Yeah, and we come from a really tight family.
Yeah.
I mean,
We do.
we have a tight, cool ass family, to be honest. Everyone that's in it is very amazing. Our brothers actually just got for the third year in a row dealership of the year.
Nice.
So they sell new and used Volkswagen.
Very cool.
Yeah, and they're just kicking ass.
Yeah. Where's that at? We can give a shameless
Yeah,
plug.
well, they have 3 locations.
Oh, okay.
In Evanston, Illinois,
Yeah.
in Chicago at
Right by Portage Park on Irving Park. Then their most recent location is in Highland, Indiana. So right over the border.
Nice.
Yeah, so if
Very
you're
cool.
looking for a new or used VW, go see them.
There we go.
It's called City Volkswagen.
Okay.
They're amazing. It's more than a dealership. And I'm not just saying that because it's my family. That's like the most incredible service I've had ever.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again. Anything else that we missed? Anything you guys want to highlight for?
Just thanks to our mother, who's been a really big...
Shout out to all the moms out there.
all the moms, but especially our mom, who is really special and has supported us and loved us and given us...
Been instrumental.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And our sister, we have another sister.
Yeah.
Again,
Okay.
there's another Scala girl, and she will absolutely be helping us grow our programming. She's very well educated and another strong independent woman that's going to be helping us grow our business.
Do you guys see yourself using a lot of the puns like grow and plate, what you bring to the table, things like that? Do you guys see yourself like hitting a lot of those?
Kind of, but also we don't want to do anything too kitschy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a level of cuteness between us, but also we're just like really direct people, and I don't know, we don't play games, so I feel like being too kitschy wouldn't be in line with who we are.
Right.
But
Freight to plate is like it's a movement. How like farm to table was is a very important, strong movement. Like we got a farm to your table, like minimizing that supply chain. That's what freight to plate is. It's the same thing, just because it's a freight container.
Yeah.
But it's a great way to it is a little kitschy, but it also is just very direct. Like
For sure.
yep.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, thank you again, and good luck with everything in 2021.
You
as I
too,
said, so.
Weisendale.
Yes. Thank you, everybody, for checking out the podcast. we wanted to take a moment to explain to you the products that we haven't seen. And to do that, here we have with us Brian Buckley. Go ahead.
Thanks, Felix. Thanks for having me. Thanks for coming, and this great opportunity to present some of our products here with Boss Design. So we're here today in the showroom at the Merchandise Mart, obviously, the one and only Merchandise Mart.
Correct.
So thanks for having me. I wanted to kind of quickly go around and show some of the products that, as a reintroduction and recap, and then also some new products that had come out that weren't really fully introduced because of COVID and kind of the lag of introduction. So I will start off with one of the products right behind you, Felix. This is the Cruise bar stool, which was an iteration from the success of the Cruise Lounge option. So it's a beautifully designed chair and bar stool. You see what you're seeing there is a fully upholstered version. It is also available with a walnut veneer back and upholstered seat and
Nice.
seat back, and then also oak as well. So you do have a couple of different options, and there's also backless versions too. So it's dependent if you just want to have that kind of transparency in a bar situation and that type of environment. It's been highly successful for us and also Boss Design. So it still is one of our best sellers.
Where is Boss Design out of?
Boss Design is out of UK.
Okay.
So they've been around since in the late 80s. So it's a relatively new company and really just entered into the US market not that long ago. Really in 2015 is when they started the real big introduction and exposure to the US market, and then also here in Chicago opening up this particular showroom. Beautiful showroom on the 3rd floor, Suite 359. Come and see me.
Great. And then what am I sitting in here?
So that right there is one of the very new products. It's the newest products that was introduced that really didn't get the exposure that I would have liked to have. It's a beautiful product. It's called the Paloma. So Paloma is offered in 3 different styles: plush, lounge, and also guest version as well. You're in a lounge version, a little lower, and it's a little wider. It's a little bit more accepting, but it's a beautifully designed product. You see a nice top stitch around. So that really kind of defines also with these products here that I'll talk about in a moment, what Boss Design really is, and kind of their DNA and the ethos of it is about, attention to detail. It's about manufacturing. It's about fit and finish and the tailoring of their product. So it's very specific. It's very tight finish, if you will. So fit and finish is what they're all about. Nice. And that's exemplified really in these next few products that I'll show.
Very cool.
What's really cool about that one is the 3 different seat finishes or sizes that are available, but also the base styles too. So you really have a variety of options. You're sitting on the 4-star swivel base, but there's also a sled base. There's also some caster versions for the guest options, and I think there's like 5 or 6 other options too that are available. 6 options that are available to you.
Very cool.
So it really runs the gamut in that, and that same language is available to most of the products that are available for Boss.
Nice.
So you have a couple of different seat options, but many different base options that have a similar design language that you can kind of tell the story through a space.
Very cool.
So we're going to just move straight along here. I want to talk about this little table here. This is the Flamingo. Easy as it is, it's just a personal laptop table, personal work side table. You're seeing a static version here. What's cool about this guy is you can have a variety of base and stem colors, but they're also adjustable too. So these can really you can adjust the size to it as well. I use it as a podium when I bring it to clients. I just kind of handle it up and then just kind of raise it and use my laptop from there. So it does raise to about 40 inches.
Wow.
So yeah, it's definitely accessible and usable and functional.
Nice.
So it's not just for what you're sitting there. Moving on over, we have the Hoot Ottomans.
Yes.
Felix, I know you really wanted to show that one with that furry version that we have there. It's just fun. We thought of taking, the one to the left is what we typically see in the contract market. It's something nice and tight and finished. But what's interesting about this particular product is they're meant to group together to really add to more of a table type setting or a group type setting, but you can join them together. So they're easy to kind of, I don't want to say stack together, but group together and set off to a side. Mm-hmm. They all have an interesting design where you have an introverted and extroverted areas to it, or concave or convex design elements to it, so they can really kind of fit together.
Nice.
It's an ottoman.
Yeah.
After that, we have DNA, and this was introduced 2 years ago at NeoCon, and this was really kind of bringing the ethos of telling the story and the ethos of what Boss Design is, and hence the name DNA, which really runs deep with Boss Design, as they are master upholsterers, and that's what they thrive from. That's what they built the success of their company on, is being master upholsterers. This top stitching, the attention to detail, the options for it as well. And a great example is this TNA and the tub version that I'm sitting in, which was really conceptualized for British Airways.
Oh, wow.
So and when you think about top tier, companies, that's what Boss Design works with. British Design Airways and their lounge versions. This was one of the original, versions of it, and then the popularity to that, and then finally when they were allowed to offer it to the contract market after their agreement was up, Boss Design was able to iterate that for the general public, in a sense, in our private market, I guess you could say.
Nice.
So, yeah.
What type of material is it graded in? Do you guys carry your own material? Does Boss carry its own material? Does it have a preferred manufacturer of textiles?
So they're mostly graded in products.
Okay.
So all of the fabrics that you see here are typically from, the great and the grands of Maharam and Design Tex, Chimera's and Gabriel's, and some of those UK-based brands as well, European-based brands as well. But what's beautiful about Boss is almost everything can work with the products that they have designed. But what's also interesting about Boss Design is, most manufacturers will have maybe about 2 different cuts that are available. And what I mean by cuts is upholstery cuts, and how they cut for a particular product. Boss Design has so much attention to detail. They'll have 10 different cuts based on the material, whether it's a vinyl or a polyurethane or a pattern or a velvet versus just a jacquard even. So there's many different cuts that they'll use just to make sure that the precision can be had. Otherwise, they won't use it.
Nice.
It won't work for them. So it's part of their commitment to beautifying the product, and their reputation too. So
Very cool.
thanks. Yeah.
Well, thank you for hosting us, and also just as a side note, thank you for all the help that you've been for the Wisendale team and the podcast. You've been a huge advocate of what we're doing, so I just wanted to say thank you for that too.
Oh man,
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah. So cheers, man. Thank you, dude.
Cheers to you, man.
Appreciate it.
I also wanted to say congrats on your success. This has been in the works for years, and a thought, and something that you've been striving for a while. So congrats.
Thank you, man.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Your safety is important. If you observe unattended packages, vandalism, or suspicious activity, inform CTA personnel immediately.